The 11th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m. Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news. Once again, from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, here is your host, Kathy Wyatt.
What started as Omaha University back in 1908 has blossomed into what is now known as the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, UNO, specifically the College of Business Administration. Joining us today to talk about its past, present, and future are Louis Pohl, Dean for the College of Administration at UNO, Janet Tashuden. Janet is the Program Director for the Nebraska Business Development Center and is a recipient of the Chancellor's Medal. And finally, someone who can talk about business administration firsthand, as Melissa Goebbels will be graduating from the program in August. Melissa is from Osmond, Nebraska. Thank you all so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Lou, we're going to start with you. Quite a history here. The College of Business Administration actually started in 1918 with about 4 classes. Things have changed quite a bit since then. Can you walk us through the history of this extraordinary program?
Well, I'll take you from 1918 to 1937 pretty quickly. Essentially what we had was a series of different kinds of what were called business courses at the time. We were a Department of Commerce. I guess that would be the best explanation or the best description to use. But we had courses in economics and real estate and retailing and marketing. But there was a loose organization of those courses. But in the late 30s, John Lucas came to be the founding dean of the College of Business, although at the beginning he wasn't the founding dean, he was just another faculty member. But he was brought here to develop a program in business administration. And from the 1930s, the late 30s to 1952, he worked on this program along with very talented faculty, very committed students to creating a College of Business Administration. So 1952 marks the time in which we became a College of Business. But John had bigger ideas, and he was a very, very significant visionary, not only for our college, but for the entire campus. And from 1952 to 1965, he worked extremely hard to get us accreditation from what is considered to be the gold standard of accreditation agencies, AACSB, now international. And in 1965, we also started our MBA program. And from 1965 to 1980, he worked very hard, although he made the transition out of the deanship, and there were other deans in this period of time. But in 1980, our MBA program became accredited by this organization. And since then, we've just had some amazing individuals, very dedicated and hardworking human beings that have led our college in great directions. And so now we're looking at the future. The future as defined by the corner of 67th and Pine Street, and we are just incredibly lucky to have this opportunity.
And tell us about the little project that's brewing at that location.
The little project that's brewing is a brand new home, Mammal Hall, for the College of Business. This is an idea that we've been trying to move along for 10 years. And we've had some ups and downs, but in the fall, back in November and December, we had a breakthrough. And the Mammal family and the Scott families came forward, and they're helping us out. And we will have, we had a groundbreaking ceremony on June the 2nd, which many people know about, but roughly the first or second week of August, we will have what's called surcharging to the ground down there, and that's where you've seen before, they bring big piles of dirt in, and that compacts everything so that we can build a foundation. And then we'll have a groundbreaking officially sometime, probably in September. And in August of 2010, we'll actually have classes there.
That's obviously
cool.
very exciting.
Pretty
Now, I understand that this contribution that was made by the Mammals was the largest in the history of the 100 years of UNO's existence. Is that correct?
It is correct.
And how did we land that donation? What kind of work went into that with that particular family?
Well, it's really the generosity of the family. I mean, it's their ideas that brought about this possibility. But the Mammal family had given us a gift in 1998, which funded a good deal of scholarships in the beginning and have funded 100+ scholarships since, and also created what was called the Faculty in Residence program. We actually still have that as well. And Mr. Mammal took a real interest in what was going on in the college, and in particular took a real interest in the students, which was just wonderful. And so in recent years, he gets together with the students at lunch, and he's learned about them, he's learned about the College of Business, and he's come to understand our needs. And so he's obviously been thinking about this for a while, and the breakthrough occurred in November. But there were a number of people that played an important role here. The Chancellor of the University, John Christensen, was wonderful and helpful here. Clary Kastner at the University of Nebraska Foundation, our foundation officer, Sue Kuchka, and Lori Byrne, another person at the foundation. All of these individuals have been extremely helpful in this project.
And certainly it is the kindness and generosity of people like that who really do help you move forward. What other things would you attribute to the success of the College of Business Administration?
Well, I'd go back to the late 30s. I think John Lucas, Dean Lucas, had a tremendous vision for what this college could become. And I don't think he was willing to settle for less. He knew that if we structured a program well, that given the community that we lived in and the quality of the students that we would have, that we would be able to graduate students who could compete anywhere with anyone. And that turned out to be true. If you look out over our history and look at people who have led important organizations, American Express International, Avis, Payne Weber, those organizations have had CEOs or presidents that have come out of our program at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. We have done a really good job. So we've been able to build on his vision for a long period of time. And then we've had significant deans and faculty members and other individuals who've helped us along. But you know, without the hardworking students and their good work, not only when they were here on campus, but after they left campus, we really wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Well, Melissa, with so much reference to students, I would be remiss not to come to you next. Talk to us about your experiences here.
UNO and the College of Business, essentially, it's a fantastic program. I plan to continue on in the future with the College of Business. But my experience, I guess I started out, I got really involved on campus, and everything just blossomed from there. You find out that UNO is really just a big, small town. And it's amazing all the opportunities I've had. I've been very active in our entrepreneurship organization, and they've been making amazing strides in our entrepreneurship curriculum here. And I've also been involved in, I was the executive treasurer for the student government, and then on UNO's forensics team. But when you put everything together, you really find out just how much of a backbone the business college is. And then you step back and you realize the amazing faculty that you work with, the fact that your teachers are all PhDs, or else they're currently working in the field, and they bring that technical knowledge as well as the academic background. And you really realize that while a lot of people have misconceptions about universities and that you have huge class sizes and various things, it's not the case at UNO. I never had a business class with more than 40 students in it, and really I think I've only had one lecture class here on campus anyhow. So the misconception that UNO is this big university and a teacher doesn't know your name is very much incorrect. The teacher knows your name and knows if you're in class. Okay. So it's been a fantastic experience at UNO. I wouldn't change it for anything. Now, I'd come back and do it again.
And that is awesome to hear. Now, did you know first coming into the university that this is what you wanted to do, or were you kind of, making your way through some things and had a few options. Tell us about what it was like to first come into the system.
Coming into the university, I actually was pretty dead set on business and accounting as my major. I wasn't sure if I was going to do some computer science with it or some management information systems. Wasn't sure if I wanted the computer background because it was a large part of my childhood and growing up. But I ended up settling on just the accounting field, and it was pretty much just a straight shot through. I worked well with my advisor, and she helped me a lot through getting the classes I needed and making sure that everything stayed exactly on track and that I didn't end up spending 6 years trying to get a degree.
And in fact, you didn't spend 6 years, you just spent three from what I
years.
understand.
Yes.
So not only is it a great program to be a part of, it's also very doable if
Oh,
you set your mind to it.
easily.
And you can get it accomplished.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that very much. And Janet, you're sandwiched between
Right in the
these
middle
two.
there. That's an interesting conversation.
Talk to us about your involvement.
Our involvement is through Nebraska Business Development Center, and we're an outreach program for CBA. And what I specifically do is my team works with businesses to help their people become more productive. And we do that through education. We primarily focus on leadership management, program management, computer high-end and end user, and our goal is to help people become more productive and add value to their company, not only for themselves but for their company.
And what is the secret to the success of that particular program? How are you, in other words, how do you know you're doing your job when you look at the students like Melissa who leave and go on?
Well, what we see is out in business, we see productivity increases. We see individuals that are now having the tools and the knowledge and the skills and the attitude to do a better job for their employer and bring more business to Omaha and to Nebraska.
Which is a perfect segue, Lou, into your question, which is, how does this particular program impact the state as a whole? And I'm sure you'll start with the positives. I'm absolutely sure about that. But give us some of the positive impacts.
Well, I won't tell you any of the negatives. But what's important here is I think that we all should understand that our first line responsibility is to contribute to the intellectual capital of the state. So it's our job to produce graduates who are knowledgeable and understand how to work in business and who can get to a business early on in a career and make a significant contribution. So that's a given, and we've done that for a long time. But the second thing that a lot of people don't think about is the fact that we contribute to the economic welfare of the state. And the Nebraska Business Development Center is the best example of what we do. In 2007, they contributed over $300 million to the state's economy. Through a host of programs. They help small businesses, medium-sized businesses get government contracts. They do loan packaging. They help organizations get loans. They do consulting with businesses. They help improve processes within manufacturing firms. We have an environmental protection agency program, which is a pollution prevention program. We have really a lot of very good, important programs embedded in NBDC. And then there's our STAR training program here, where we've been out in the community for 2 decades, providing really first-rate assistance in terms of producing productivity. So when you add all of that up and look at jobs saved and jobs created, and again these loans and these other programs, there's a significant economic impact. Now, we're not content to stop here. We really think that there's a good deal more that we can do. And one of the things that we're in the process of doing now is putting together the service side of our house, the Nebraska Business Development Center, with the academic side of the house in a program in innovation and entrepreneurship. And so that's going to be one of the stars as we look forward and out another decade or so. I think if people come back a decade from now or 2 decades from now, that's one of the things that we'll be known for.
And specifically, what will they see then as you put this whole thing together 10 or 20 years from now? What can we expect?
They'll see a combination of things. They'll see student-run businesses. They'll see businesses that are generated through the interaction between the Peter Keywood Institute and the Scott Technology Center and the College of Business, the different partnerships with the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And then there are all of our wonderful partners that are just going to be right across the street from us in Exarban Village. one of the great things about our building, and that everyone should consider, is it's a wonderful facility, but it's special because of its location. And we'll be right across the street from the village, and when you walk out the front door from our large atrium, you'll be looking at the new hotel. You'll be looking there at the Marriott Courtyard Hotel. And as you do a 360 in the front of our building, you'll be able to look at, well, dozens of partners, dozens of potential partners. And that's great.
And paint a more detailed picture of that, because there are folks who are not as familiar with this area, obviously, as we are. So those people from across the state who are watching, who are a bit curious as to specifically what you're talking about, paint a picture for them when you say it's surrounded by a lot of great things.
Yeah.
What specifically are you alluding to?
Well, as many of you know, we're located on the property that was formerly Ak-Sar-Ben Racetrack. And there are a number of developments on that property, including the Peter Kiewit Institute, which is part of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. And that was created a little bit more than a decade ago. That's just to the north of us. But when we look south, that's where the new development is. So essentially what's going on there is there's a combination of commercial and retail, residential, urban village kind of environment that's being constructed literally before our eyes. I mean, you can drive down there this afternoon and you'll see something that you didn't see yesterday afternoon, because that's how quickly the construction is going. And we're going to be right across the street from that. And so there'll be all kinds of businesses with various industrial backgrounds, opportunities for students to do internships, opportunities for students to work, places for people from the business community to come to us and learn from us and participate in programs that we have. Then, if you look to the west, you have First Data Resources. So you have this wonderful company. Again, to the north, as I said earlier, we've got the Peter Kiewit Institute. And to the and if we look back to the east, we have the Scott Conference Center, which will be a wonderful facility for us to put on programs and conferences and those kinds of things. We have the best location that I can imagine for a business school.
He's a little bit excited about this.
Yes,
Janet.
he is.
And we do have the rendering back up again of what this
that's great.
building is going to look like.
So again, that's the atrium I'm talking about. So you're looking toward the northwest. So imagine yourself turning around, coming back out, and you would be looking again at the Courtyard Marriott Hotel. And then, so if you turned yourself a little bit to the right and looked directly to the south, you'd be looking at all of the wonderful developments at Ak-Sar-Ben Village.
Excellent. Now, Janet, he has said quite a bit here, and I see you and Melissa both nodding. You're all very enthusiastic about this, as well you should be. What is it that you'd like to talk about based on all the information that Lou has given you? I'm sure you agree. Is there anything that you want to add from your standpoint where you sit?
Well, but we're very excited because right now at Nebraska Business Development Center, part of our people are on campus. We also have people located in centers across Nebraska, so we're not just here in Omaha, but there's some of us that are located in Omaha but not on campus because there's not room for us and there's not parking for our students. So this is going to be able to bring us together in the College of Business Administration, and so our students are going to be able to come on campus, and that's really exciting for us, and it really allows for some collaboration between the university and faculty and business people.
Very cool. Now, educate us a bit. You're located across the state, you said, in different locations.
Right.
Talk to us about where you are specifically throughout the state.
We are in Wayne, Chadron, Scottsbluff, North Platte, Kearney, Lincoln, and then here in Omaha.
I'm impressed. I put you on the spot with that
Yeah,
one.
you like that? I was
apologize.
taking my
think you did a
trip around
wonderful job.
Nebraska.
Very, very good. Now, Melissa, your head is nodding as well. You've obviously been a part of this for the last 3 years. You've been watching, as Lou alluded to, all of the changes that are taking place. Obviously, very exciting.
Very.
Tell us what you see as a student and what future students can expect to experience as they come on board this.
What really excites me about the new building and the Ak-Sar-Ben Village is that we'll finally have an atmosphere that's of a caliber, that's of an excellence as our program. It seems like a lot of places, new students are oohed and awed by pretty buildings, but what they don't see in our current building is the amazing program that's within, the technology that goes on, the fantastic professors, the learning that takes place. However, when we get to South Campus, and we're right next to the Peter Kiewit Institute, and we're right next to Exarban Village and the Scott Conference Center, they'll really realize the caliber that our business program is. And it's really exciting. I'm jealous of the undergrads in future years that will get to be in the building. I hope I'm still an MBA then.
Well, Melissa makes a comment that's really important. First thing I do when I talk to our alums these days is apologize that this didn't happen sooner. Wow. But I also promise them that there'll be reasons to come back on campus. There'll be programs, postgraduate programs, not necessarily credit programs, speakers, the kinds of things that they'll want to come back, and they'll have a great facility to visit.
And it sounds like they absolutely will. And you know, Melissa, you can create your own destiny here. So if you want to spread that whole master's program out, you can do whatever you want to do there. You can be a student at 90 and still be just fine. So you can experience all of that as much as you want to. I do want to hit the question. We've heard quite a bit about students who may elect to go to school here in Nebraska, but then go ahead and leave the state for jobs elsewhere. What are you seeing in the College of Business Administration regarding retention of those students that actually go through the system, staying here in the state?
Actually, we have very good retention. We've got roughly 18,000 alums, and we believe that we have roughly 10,000 of them still living in Nebraska. And I think that's pretty good retention. Can we do better? Yes, we can. And there's certainly opportunities here for them. There'll be opportunities for them in the future. But we still have work to do in terms of matching our educational goals and what we're doing in the classroom and in programs surrounding those classroom activities to the business needs of the community. And that's why we spend a lot of time talking to people in the community about the kinds of students that they're looking for and the kinds of skills and knowledge that they should have. But I think in general we do well. And one of the reasons why we do well is because we have a really solid internship program which links students to these businesses at very early stages, and frequently these internships turn into full-time positions. And if they stay here for that period of time, there's a good chance that they'll stay here beyond then.
Melissa, true for you?
Actually, I took an internship at Mutual of Omaha and absolutely loved it in their investment department. They unfortunately didn't have a position available for me there. However, I had some really good referrals to Peter Kiewit, who's across the street, and I'm currently employed with him as a tax accountant. But the internships available at UNO are absolutely phenomenal. I've never heard of anybody who's looked for an internship and hasn't been able to find one. And you get linked in with the large businesses, the small businesses, whatever environment you're looking for, there's an internship for you in Omaha. And I would think it'd be, a lot of them do turn into full-time employment. A lot of friends that I have are working full-time at the place that they interned at.
Quite honestly, I think you should be the Director of Public Relations for the College of Business Administration. I think they were remiss not to snatch you up and create that position if they don't have one already. Most of the students as excited as you are?
I think so. The students that I'm familiar with are very excited. The new building is absolutely fantastic. The buzz that was going on in the classrooms when the announcement was finally made, a lot of people were anticipating it. For my entire 3 years, we've been hearing, well, we might get a new building at some point, and we all get really excited about that. But when it was finally official and the press release came out, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, good for you, and good for the college as well. Now, I would be remiss if I did not ask the question. You know, we've gone 90 years. Obviously, UNO celebrates its centennial, but the College of Business Administration, 1918. What do you expect for the next 90? What is on the horizon here?
It's hard for me to look out 90, but I can look out 10 or 20.
Okay.
And I really do. Well, first of all, our college is going to grow in terms of students. We've looked around the country to get some kind of sense for how our enrollment should grow, and we think we're going to increase by 10 or 15%. So we'll have 2,700 or 2,800 students in the building, spread out over a number of programs, and that'll be very exciting. But I think as we look forward, as we look out, this is really going to be marked as a period of time where many partnerships that don't currently exist were developed, and programs developed as a product of those partnerships, and some of them are well, we don't know what they're going to look like, but I'm confident that our college will be a really exciting place to visit 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now.
Okay, Janet, anything you want to add to that?
What I'd like to add is that we see with the jobs and the economic conditions and the global competition is that people just can't stop learning. Once you graduate from college, that's not the end of it. And there was a time that people kind of thought, okay, I'm done, that's it, no more education. It's not that way anymore. We have to be there to help businesses and to help people with their future and to be abreast on all the different technologies and the new concepts and the new theories that are coming out that can actually help them in business. So that's really an exciting time for us and the partnerships and collaboration that we can use within the college and other organizations to help people grow.
Wonderful. And I have about a minute left, Lou. I want to ask you, in your position especially, what legacy, we've been talking quite a bit about history and how we got to be where we are, what legacy would you like to leave in the College of Business Administration?
The guy who handed the place off to the next dean with a lot of momentum and a lot of promise for the future. Just the dean that spent time helping us move forward, and in this instance we were fortunate enough to move forward a little bit faster, actually a lot faster than we've moved at other periods of time. So my goal would be that if you were sitting here with the next dean 10 years from now, that person would be excited about the prospects for the future, and they could tell you more about what they were able to build on. So that's my job, to put them in a position to do incredibly good work.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us today. What a wonderful story you have shared with us. And I do want to say, as we close, we are going to do a special tribute to UNO's upcoming centennial, appropriately themed Central to Our City since 1908. Celebrations are slated to begin in October. For now, thank you all very much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours. The 11th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.